While Matt Gaetz will not be leading the Justice Department, that doesn't mean that the issue of sexual abuse has somehow vanished. It remains a very fundamental component of the individuals selected to work with Donald Trump, who himself has been credibly accused by nearly 24 women and found liable for sexual abuse. As Slate points out, if everyone is a sexual predator, then no one's history of misdeeds matters, or at least no one needs to be held accountable. Being accused of sexual harassment, abuse, or assault is no longer disqualifying. On the right, it has been normalized. It may even be an asset. As it stands, there are 3 cabinet picks who have been credibly accused of sexual misconduct. Let's start with Pete Hegseth, Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense. Last night, the Monterey Police Department released a 22-page police report in response to a public records request related to sexual assault. According to the report, a woman told police that Hegseth sexually assaulted her in a hotel room after he took her phone, blocked the exit from the hotel room, and refused to let her leave. Hegseth told police at the time that the encounter had been consensual and denied any wrongdoing. The woman helped organize the event at which Hegseth spoke. She told police that she had witnessed Hegseth acting inappropriately toward women and saw him rubbing their thighs. She texted a friend that Hegseth was giving off a creeper vibe, according to the report. Hegseth's lawyer responded to the report, claiming that the police report confirms that the incident was fully investigated and police found the allegation to be false, which is why no charges were filed. The police did not find the allegations to be false. In fact, they recommended that the case report be sent to the Monterey County DA's office for review. In 2023, Hegseth paid the woman to sign a non-disclosure agreement, a common tool to silence victims of sexual abuse. Let's move on to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a serial philanderer who would rate his sexual conquests in his diary. In July, his children's nanny, who was 23 at the time, told Vanity Fair that Kennedy sexually assaulted her by grabbing her breasts without her consent. He reportedly texted an apology to the nanny and seemingly acknowledged the incident when he was asked about it, saying, "I am not a church boy. I have so many skeletons in my closet." He later added, "I am who I am." And then there was Linda McMahon, who, along with her husband, Vince, is being sued for fostering a culture of sexual abuse within the WWE because they ignored alleged abuse committed by a ringside announcer who sexually assaulted 13 to 15-year-old boys. Claims they deny. Joining me now is Frank Figliuzzi, former assistant FBI director for counterintelligence and MSNBC senior national security analyst, and Molly Jong-Fast, Vanity Fair special correspondent and MSNBC contributor. Thank you both for being here. I do want to start with you here at the table, Molly, because it seems that this is a pattern. You could add Elon Musk, who has faced allegations that there was a sort of an atmosphere of sexual harassment at Tesla. And you could add the now former AG pick, Matt Gaetz. It just feels like Donald Trump is cultivating people around him. He nominated Brett Kavanaugh, who was also credibly accused and also denied those claims. 2/3 of the conservative majority on the Supreme Court have had such allegations, if you count Clarence Thomas. There's something happening with Republicans where all the things that QAnon claimed were true, right? They were saying that that was true about Democrats, but here we are. What does this say to women?
Yes, well, that's a really good point. And I think, look, these people are in the highest levels of the law. Like Attorney General, you are setting the law and on the federal level. And then you have someone who has numerous allegations and Venmo. And I think what's the most interesting in a weird way is it seems clear at some point Trump realized that this was never going to go through anyway, because he had somebody else all teed up.
He had a woman all teed up. I think that's very clear that it was very deliberate. He's looking for another Florida person, this time a woman.
Right. And I think ultimately, look, it's modeling a kind of bad behavior. And we talked about this before, that part of Trumpism is giving this permission that you don't have to care about people, right? That you can kind of do whatever you want. That owning the libs. Your
body, my choice.
Right, exactly. And you're owning the libs is sort of a central tenet of this kind of governance. Not so much about governance, but about giving these kind of people permission to do what they wanted to do all along.
Yeah. And Frank, can we talk about from a law enforcement point of view? You know, the Pete Hegseth side are trying to say that because there was not a prosecution, that means the police report exonerates him. That is not what that police report does. I read that police report earlier today in horror. It was horrifying. He definitely denied it to the police as well. That's in the report. But when you have allegations like that from a witness, an alleged victim, is it possible to claim that one is exonerated simply because no charges were immediately filed?
Short answer, no. This question comes up over and over again in a myriad of ways. And the answer is that the ending of an investigation, the decision to decline prosecution, is not an exoneration, but rather a decision that involves all kinds of variables like, look, everybody was drunk. We don't know how this is going to play in front of a jury. A check has been written to settle this, and we're kind of okay with that. Memories have failed. It's, you know, all of that plays into, and the degree to which a particular district attorney says, I have to be 100% certain before I go to trial. Some say I'll take 90% certainty. So no, not an exoneration. Let's also add the well-reported issues throughout the Pentagon and the U.S. military with the issue of sex assault. And we finally have made progress in how the military handles allegations like that, wresting control of that decision-making away from commanders on base and letting other sets of eyes look at and adjudicate those allegations. So someone like Hegseth would instill fear in all members of the military about whether or not anyone's going to ever believe them again regarding sexual assault. And I've got to add real quick, we're having this conversation, Joy, about everybody's backgrounds being a mess because Trump is avoiding FBI background investigations.
Yes.
He's not submitting his nominees' names for review. So, you know, you talk about abnormal becoming normal. It's true not only with sexual allegations across everybody, but also with the fact he's blowing off the FBI background investigations that have been done since Dwight Eisenhower.
Thank you for pointing that out, because had there been FBI there was also this allegation, Frank, that there was the FBI background investigation into the Kavanaugh situation that was scuttled by the White House. So they're absolutely not allowing the FBI to do its job. And now they're also talking about putting a loyalist, someone like a Kash Patel, in that job. So then an FBI background investigation might not even mean anything at that point.
Yeah, real concerned about the lack of insights that the Senate Judiciary is really going to have. They're flying blind without FBI background investigations. And the silly notion that Trump's using a private firm to do those backgrounds, guess what? They're loyal to whoever's paying their invoice.